All right, we are live. Welcome everybody, everyone who's jumping in live, and those of you who are going to be joining us later for the replay. It is great to have you here with us. I'm Eileen Grimes, and I am joined by none other than the amazing Jen Kronberger.
Hi, Eileen. How are you today?
Good. I'm good. And I'm also just, I love having these conversations. So this is actually really a highlight, certainly, of the day.
Yes,
Um,
for sure.
and also, it's been a lot. And it's actually kind of perfect that we're talking about what we're going to be talking about today, because I know I'm not the only one that has been felt caught up in how much of the things that are happening at the end of the year and just trying to get it all together, let alone be intentional about how we end the year.
For sure. Yeah, this is always that time of year that I feel like the calendar flips faster than the days are really going. It's like there's a weird disconnect, right? It's like what's
Mhm.
going on here that I can't seem to keep up. But yeah, it's days like, the back to back and lots of stuff going on and um but good. I'm blessed and lucky to be here with you and to be doing the work that I love to be doing. And so I will take that as a win every day. Which is it's to me nothing better.
Yeah,
So thank you.
absolutely. Agreed. Um, so wonderfully, then, with that being said, today we're talking about that sort of intentionality and how we can end our year with a win. And we said a win very intentionally,
We did.
very specifically.
Yep.
Um, and, part of what we don't want people to feel like is here's a massive load of information that
No.
we can't do anything with and won't make any kind of impact in our lives. And now just feels more overwhelming than helpful in any way, shape, or form. And we don't want you to take that from this. I want to make sure that's clear before we even jump in.
Yeah, no added pressure here. This is about actually taking pressure off and finding ways to look at where you are today and where you want to end up, and that there's no pressure in getting there. It's just part of the intention setting, right?
Yeah, which wonderfully. So we're talking about 5 ways to end your year with a win. So the first thing we wanted to talk about, and one of the things that I love hearing, Jen's told me this and has changed my perspective on these words. And so this idea of expectations and moving that to intention. Just yeah, I again, your wise words on this have been incredible for me. So
Well,
I
thank
would
you.
love for you to share that with
And
everyone.
I don't even claim them. This is long thought process and study. So I will say that I cringe when we have conversations with leaders of companies, which happens often, right?
Yeah.
And we hear the word, and to me, it's a bad word, expectation.
Mhm.
The word expectation is alarming. It's jarring, actually, to me when I hear the word, and it immediately kind of makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. And here's why. Let me explain that, because I know for some people they're like, yeah, but you have to have expectations, right? Actually, the way the brain works, we're going to go back again into this neuroscience and psychology of wording and how our brain fires when we hear certain things. So when I spent that time studying for my sports psychology, for my master's degree in sports psychology and performance, what we looked at, and there was a really fascinating segment of this research that talked about confidence, right? And I studied confidence for like a year, and really dug in with a sports psychologist. We worked hand in hand on doing a lot of research. We wrote a workbook together, and did a lot of this work together on instilling confidence in your players for coaches. Right, this is the
Yeah.
workbook we wrote, and in all that study and the time that I took to really understand this, I found something really fascinating. And it was that the number one killer of confidence was the word expectation. Here's why. And think about this, because you don't think about this until you actually hear this. If you have an expectation, it is black or white. It is one or the other. It is yes or no. It is whatever. Okay. It is very stark in its differentiation between I did it or I did not. Okay. So in other words, either I succeeded, or the flip side to that, as we're taught, is failure.
Right.
Which is a whole nother topic for a whole nother day.
Yeah.
Okay. But let's just stick to this for 1 second. So that would be the equivalent of saying, hey, we're going to take a test right now. I'm going to hand out a test, and you get a 99 out of 100 on that test. How would you feel about that? A 99 out of 100. Pretty good, right? You're like, kind of, nailed it. That's an A. In the world of expectation, that is a failure. So you'd have to go through your classes, if this was the case, getting 100s all the time, or else you fail. It was either you got it all right or you didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
So the problem with that, obviously, is as human beings, we are designed to fail. We're always going to make mistakes. We're not perfect. We're not robots. We're not machines. There is no yes, no. There's a lot of gray in the middle, right? There's a lot of passing grades that happen between an A and a failure. So the setting ourselves up to fail is what we're doing basically when we're setting what we call an expectation. So people are like, okay, but I don't want to like lower the bar. No, we're not talking about the bar. We're not talking about having a bar. You get rid of the bar. Who needs the bar, right? That's like, when we talk about the law of the lid, John C. Maxwell. Law of the lid states you will never grow higher than your lid, right? So get rid of the lid. Let's take the lid away for a second. Changing the word from expectation to intention changes the dynamic of what happens in your brain when you're looking at all or nothing. Okay. So number 1 in these 5 ways to end your year with a win, change the word expectation. Take that out of your vocabulary and create intention. My intentions are that I'm going to do XYZ. And if I failed by, 20%, I still got 80%. I still did that. I did the thing.
Yeah. Right.
But it's not about win or lose. It's about, it's not about, yes, I did it all, or no, I didn't do it all right. It's the process of the thing. Not the outcome of the thing. So when we remove our sense of, worthiness around an outcome, it changes things.
Yeah.
So
definitely
changing expectation to intention has changed my life. I'll tell you, it's very different.
Yeah. And we've talked about this too, where it's both personally and professionally, right? That it can be included everywhere.
Well, and you hear the words like be realistic. Right? Which again could be the topic for a whole nother day, but the words be realistic, like what does that really mean when someone says that? My expectation versus my intention, and SMART goals and all of that fun stuff. Be realistic. Okay, well, it's real for someone, or you wouldn't have thought about it.
Right.
And I think real depends on really how much effort you want to put into it.
Right.
That's realistic. Realistic is not based on whether you can achieve the outcome. It's what you're willing to do to get to the outcome. That's the reality of the thing, which changes the intention versus the expectation.
Oh man, this is a whole conversation for another day. I'm really excited to explore this more with you, even because that just gets me into the innovation side of things, right? If we
100%.
only ever have realistic
Correct.
ideas, we're only going to ever stay in things we definitely know we can hit.
That's right. Right. Which negates innovation.
Yeah.
We can't innovate that way. There's no room for creativity, flexibility, or agility at all.
Yeah. Interesting.
Write that down. We'll talk about that another day.
We will, you definitely will.
I love that.
Oh, I like that a lot. So, but we don't, I mean, we could talk for just all of our workday, but I think that we would have
Yeah,
our time better spent also doing some other things. But that is a fascinating subject that I definitely
for sure.
think would be a fun one to go into. So moving from expectations to intentions, that's one. And we're going to ask you to kind of think about as we're going through these to pick one or even a
Mhm.
small part of one of these to to really focus on for the rest of the year. Then the next thing we talk about, right? We're talking about wins. Well, you and I've talked a little bit before about the things that we focus on are the things that, right? Those are the things that actually happen.
Mhm.
So part of that is also in celebrating and acknowledging that we have wins
Yes.
to be able to be excited about and to see, because if we're
Mhm.
not able to see them, that we don't have the habit and the
Yeah.
focus of looking at those as wins, um, then we're certainly not going to have any. We're going to continue to see the failures. We're going to continue to see the things that we're not doing right or the things, the expectations
Yep.
that we're not meeting, if we're not even able to see the wins that we do have.
Yeah, I think this is something that we collectively as a society could be more proactive on.
Yeah.
I think that we can respond in a different way when it comes to this. And I think sometimes we wait until we get all the way there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, think about, we celebrate graduation. We don't celebrate the fact that, like, I finished the ninth grade,
Right.
right? It's like we
Yeah.
celebrate the ultimate pinnacle of the thing, of the outcome, of the whatever, of the process. And I think we should be celebrating smaller milestones,
Mm-hmm.
because when we do that, when we're looking at when those small wins happen, we actually are creating from that the opportunity to build more confidence and to develop more motivation, more intrinsic motivation,
Yeah.
which we need in order to get a win, right? So I think we often miss out on those opportunities because we're constantly looking for what's that big whale, what's that big win, the huge, ending of the thing. Um, I've been celebrating. So I'm in the middle of writing this book, which is like um, painstakingly long
Right.
and difficult. Sometimes it feels like, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when as I'm writing, I'm trying to celebrate the small milestones of hitting,
Yeah.
like, okay, I got another 1,000 words done. I got, whatever it is to continue to bring that motivation through
Yeah.
to help me to feel the accomplishment as I'm going through the process, not just the outcome of the thing getting published, but the process of the thing. So
Yeah.
I'm celebrating the process. I think we need to get better at celebrating the process. Uh, what does that look like? It looks like, picking out some of those things. What are some of the things for you that are small milestones on your journey?
Yeah.
And take a minute to celebrate them. Make it known. Make that a thing for yourself. Do something that feels like a celebratory moment, whatever that is, but pause and recognize it.
And one of the things for me, that I've been doing more intentionally, and I think celebration is also a piece that we need to redefine a little bit here. It doesn't have to be throwing a big party. It
No,
doesn't have to be
no,
right.
for sure. I mean, you can, but just
Absolutely, go
as
for
long as
it.
we're invited, that's fine.
Um, for me, it's been, especially this year, has been really about celebrating my presence,
Yeah,
in
love
being
that.
present, in
Yeah.
whatever way, shape, or form that is, and whatever relationship it is. Um, and for me, that looks like after I've had a conversation with somebody, after we do these LinkedIn lives, for example, I'll sit for a moment and just think
Mhm.
that felt really nice
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
just
Yep.
be able to go back and forth. Look, for anyone who's listening, we have some bullet points of things that we talk through, but a majority of this really is just you and I
That's right.
being able to sit and have a conversation together,
Mhm.
about some things that matter to us that obviously
Yeah.
we do in the day to day. But it really is about having this time together. And
Yep.
so I take a moment typically after, especially sessions like this, or even, our course that we were just
Mhm.
recently in, and thinking that just felt so good
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be with others fully and completely. Or even if I wasn't, well, I was 70% of the time
Right.
or whatever that was. And
Mhm.
when that part felt really good, and to reflect on that. To me, that is a celebration
Yep.
of a win, of being present. So it doesn't have to
I
look
love that.
huge.
Right.
Um,
That's it.
but it can if you want it to, and if that helps,
Yeah.
certainly. But that for me is what an example of what that looks like.
I love that. I love that that is so real and tangible that we can all do that. We can celebrate just showing up.
Yeah,
Love that.
definitely. I mean, building connections, my goodness, what I found it being amazing for
Yeah.
me. But anyway, that's again another whole other
Right.
a whole other conversation. So the next piece that we have too is, so when we talk about wins, we are at the part of the year when, oftentimes, at least in corporate side of things, we're working on these, performance reviews, and we're typically doing some kind of work, um, having to do a write up about what we've done in the past year and things. And, um, you know, focusing in on those wins to share with somebody else. And that can be, scary. It can feel overwhelming because we've just had so much to do that it feels like just one more step in the process. But to
Mhm.
really take that moment and say, I have looked back and reflected on this year. I can share the things that I've done because I did do them. I did have these wins, and now I can tell someone else about that. There is nothing wrong with being able to share how great and how wonderful and the things that we've done well with somebody else, and to be seen and feel seen and heard in doing that.
100%. Yeah, I think this is what we call self-advocacy, right? It's the being able to recognize that in ourselves and share it with someone else, right? So there's the process of what that looks like. And as always, every time that we do anything, it always starts with you.
Mhm.
Always, no matter what it is. It's that internal first. So I believe self-advocacy starts with knowing who you are.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that again, this is a piece. I just had a conversation with someone who was doing some professional development at work, and they had this professional development day, and they were talking about culture, which was
Mhm.
fascinating. But what came up was team culture immediately. It was the very first thing they talked about was what it looks like to be a strong team.
Yeah.
And I asked, I said, so did you talk at all about what each of you brings to the table to be a part of
Mhm.
that team? And she was like, no. We talked about what it would look like as a team, and we like built something together at our table.
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting. Okay. So again, I think this is where most drop the ball on this work because we can't get to the whole, right?
Mhm.
Until we talk about the parts, right? We always say with the whole is greater than the sum of the. Okay, great. That's awesome. But if you don't have the parts to go into that,
Yes.
right? Or you don't know what they are,
Yep.
honestly, truly don't know what they are or what they bring to the table, then you're missing a whole piece that helps you to find that equation. You can't solve for that until you know what those are. So
Mm.
I think you have to know who you are. You have to know what you want and need also. You have to be able to recognize, hey, these are my needs, but let's talk about what you want too. We skip over that, right? We talk a lot about, what are the things you need, but also what are the things you want, and they could be different. That's okay too. Um, and then, know where to go, know where your resources are, know how to ask for it.
Mhm.
Um, I think we have to learn more as humans, and especially I think, when we're putting ourselves in these situations where we kind of have to do the work to stand up for ourselves and all of that, we have to be able to ask for what we need and what we want. And then I think finally in that is remembering that you're not alone in that. that, you know, we can ask for support when needed, ask for help, and know that there are people who we can lean on, you know. And again, I mean, since I started this work way back in the day, those words that I put on my very first tagline, because we aren't meant to do this alone.
Yeah.
I truly believe that is that is what, and you know, I always say, I think community and connection is what will save us in the end. And I think we have to remember that we're not in this alone.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's incredible, right? Seeing that, and it was interesting too, because you tapped into the what are our needs, what are our wants, and you know, that kind of that guides us basically into the fourth thing here, and the what's the one thing that you can do for yourself, and that starts with knowing what you need, right? Acknowledging where you are. We talk about end of year. We're all so busy. There's holidays coming up. There's all sorts of things happening. And I mean, gosh, again, self-care is a whole other beast. But but what do you need? Can you even acknowledge that, or not acknowledge, but can you
identify it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, you know, what does it look like? What does it look like for you? Even if it was, you know, asking yourself that question, what's the one thing, the one tiny little small thing that you could do for yourself every single day? There are 54 days left in the year as of today. There are 54 days left of 2023. Decide to put you first one time every day, just one time for the next 54 days. And even if you fail at half of that, you'll be doing it a heck of a lot more than you are doing it now. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that. So, you know, what's the small thing? Identify it. What does it look like? One little thing. I don't care if it's, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea today. That's the thing I'm doing for myself. Whatever. Be intentional, though, on whatever that thing is. I'm going to open my door and stand out on my deck for 2 minutes. That's what I'm going to do for myself today. It doesn't matter. Really, the thing you're doing doesn't matter. It's that you're intentional to pick a thing.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter what the thing is. It could be, I'm going to sing, whatever. But be intentional.
Have a dance party in the kitchen. I don't know. Someone might do that.
We do that all the time.
Yeah, no, I love that. And part of that then goes into our sort of last piece of this is the intentionality between our yeses and our nos.
So big.
I know, right?
Yeah, you know, I know this is going to sound very simplistic, but listen clearly. Say yes to the things you want to say yes to. Say no to the things you don't. Because what happens is no means you have space for a yes for something else. You get to choose, right? You get to choose those yeses and nos. Maybe not all of them.
Yeah. But
you get to choose a lot more than I think we give ourselves credit for. You know, we go into this end of the year and it almost feels it feels so big, right? Yeah. For so many, like you said it, you know, we got the holidays coming. Now, really think about whatever holidays you celebrate, if you celebrate any, it's like one day. Think about it. Truthfully, it's one day here, one day there, another day over here, whatever it is, right? But like it's when you're focused on, you know, maybe it's 8 days, maybe it's whatever you're celebrating, though, it's those days. And then what happens around it? It's just chaos. Right. It's like people shut down. Oh, it's November. We'll see you in January. And it's like, right. What is happening? Like we're losing because we've created that story, though, that this is what happens now. Right. And I'm not saying that has to change. What I'm saying, though, is our perception on how we show up can change. Yeah. Making those decisions on yeses and nos, making the decisions about doing something for myself intentionally. That stuff is the stuff that we get to choose. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like the yeses and nos. And it's, for me, it's definitely one of the pieces around this time of year that's very, very helpful, because if I feel like I'm saying, it's an interesting one, right? Like if I'm saying no to my kids to do something with them because I'm trying to make some elaborate meal to have intentional family time, I
Right.
feel like I'm missing something.
Oh, truth. Yeah, there's
Right.
truth to that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our thought process on this is very fascinating.
It is.
I would agree with that 100%. Like, what are we doing? What really is the goal? What is the intention
Yeah.
of the whole thing? Like, why are we doing these things?
Right.
Yeah, we get to question that too.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, these are great. And so this is sort of a part one of the end of the year thing. We're gonna have a part two next week that we've scheduled as well. So join us. We'll be talking a little bit more about sort of what does that mean for holidays and some of those kinds of things, and really being leaders in that space, and how do we lead within that, and see each other, and see ourselves, and both from professional and personal sides of that, and looking at what balance means and looks like. So we'll be excited to have you all join for part two of this as well. As always, it is a pleasure. We want you to think again. We don't want you to. There's no overwhelm here, right? We don't have an expectation
That's right.
for anyone to do all of these, but to think about where's one win, or where's one of these that I can use as a win for the end of my year, and where might I be able to find encouragement and support because I've put some focus on that.
That's right. Yeah, just be intentional. Be intentional.
Definitely.
Thank
Thank you all again for joining. It's a pleasure every week. I mean, I love doing this with you.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Truly.
Thank you. And it is a weird peek into like normal conversations that we have, because that's pretty much what this is. This is our day. Like, this is, we just talk through things like that, which is kind of fun to just peel back the curtain a little bit and say, yeah, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Definitely. So thanks for showing up with me as always.
Absolutely. So thanks everybody. And if you want to share what you're focusing on and how you're going to end your year with the win, we would love to hear it and be able to celebrate you too. So from JLCG, we thank you for being here and look forward to seeing everybody next week.